Hey everybody. In today's video, I'm going to share a couple of tips on how to make colored pencil images really pop on dark cardstock. I'm starting with my favorite dark craft cardstock. This is the darkest, warmest colored craft that I've ever found. It doesn't have that kind of dull cardboard look that some other craft cardstocks have, and I really like it. So what I do is I start with white always. And in this case, I started with white ink because I wanted the outline of this image to look like there was a light shining on it. So almost like it was a nighttime scene of this little possum in a tree. And the white outline ink helps me do that. Now, because I always start coloring my images with a white pencil, and I'm using white ink, so there's not as much definition between the white pencil and the image, I work one little section at a time. So here you can see me kind of blocking in the pink on his feet and his tail, and the gray for his fur, a little pink on his ears as well. But this way, I'm kind of preserving those areas that are in the foreground, like his legs, so they don't get lost in the rest of the coloring. So I'll work around those at first until I have enough shading to sort of differentiate them from the rest of the image. And then I'll go back and finish those. So I find that very helpful. Now I have a couple of different shades of gray here. And I always kind of work back and forth between light and dark colors. It's just what works for me. So I'm adding a darker gray where you would expect there to be a little bit of shadow. So on his belly, which is kind of behind his four little legs, and then around the edges of his head to create the illusion of depth and a round shape to his head and his body. So I'm adding those darker colors there. Then I go back with the light color to make his legs, fill in his legs, and to make them stand out from where I've put the darker pencil. So again, I'm just adding that dimension with color. Now, there'll be a time in the middle where it doesn't look very defined, and the way you get definition is to add your darkest colors. So it will start to become more defined as you add those in. So I'm adding even a darker shadow to his belly and around those same dark edges that I colored before. And now you can see how the white ink makes it look like the possum is kind of backlit, which is the look that I really like when I'm using white ink on dark cardstock, especially. And it doesn't have to be a nighttime scene. This could be sunshine shining on his fur. You know how fur looks in sunlight. And the white ink is just like a really quick shortcut for you to get that lighting effect. So I'll do the same thing on the branch. I start with white, and the branch is pretty skinny, so a lot of it is already white. Just from the ink, I don't really have to put a lot of white pencil down. And then I'm using two different brown colors, kind of a light and a dark brown, to color that branch. So that'll give it just a little bit of variation. I use the dark pencil kind of underneath the branches, and again, that puts the lighting effect on the top. This is a very simple image to color. So this won't be one of those coloring projects that takes you all day. I have this sped up at 2x speed. So it really only took me, it's a 6-minute video, so it only took me 12 minutes to color this entire little scene. So you don't have to spend a whole afternoon doing this. You will have to blend back and forth between dark and light several times until you get it as smooth as you want it. I am actually doing a little flicking motion here to give his fur kind of a more realistic fur look, but you can skip that step if you want to. So I'm outlining his little toes, adding little pops of white here and there around the image with the pencil just to make his little toes stand out. And I'm also taking a white gel pen and I'm emphasizing his whiskers with the white gel pen to make them pop. I decided to make his eyes dark instead of keeping them white, and I think this looks really cute. But here's where the whole image starts to come together. It's always going to be with your darkest color. So I'm taking this very, very dark gray pencil and I'm adding sharp, kind of unblended lines of shadow that really just make it pop. It's just all of a sudden the image looks really realistic. And I love that stage, both with watercolor and with pencil, where it just starts to really come into focus. And as a last step, I always go add a few more little white highlights on whatever would be at the front of the image. So I will add some soft little highlights on his legs and his head. And now he is looking pretty darn adorable. You can blend the edges of the white if you'd like to. I like to kind of keep them the way they are, but I did want to make his tail just a little pinker because they are pretty pink in real life. So I blended those two colors again. And so there he is, close up, an adorable little woodland creature. All the supplies are listed below. Thanks so much for watching.